good, so we can go ahead and start. So today our presentation is going to be getting more online leads, and we're doing a panel discussion today. So no PowerPoint slides or anything like that. Just get some insight from the members of our panel. If you're a small business, we know that getting new customers is one of the most important things we can do. But I don't know if you knew this, 97% of people today won't pick up a cold call. So the alternative, if you want to reach people, is often reaching them online. So we're hoping today that something that one of us has to share about our own experience can help you get more leads. And if you want a longer discussion, any member of the panel, and you can do this with several of us, is happy to meet for a 30-minute free consultation call. Welcome in. We've got, I'm not going to even guess how to pronounce your name. Paula, can you please tell me how to say your name?
Paula Shade.
Paula Shade. Thank you for coming in.
All right. Thanks, Paula.
She joined us when we had our discussion the last one.
Exactly, Tom. I remember that. Yeah. Just great conversation. So I'm back.
Fabulous. We love seeing people come back and catch more of us and get more ideas.
Super.
So today I'm joined by 3 of my fellow webheads. We're part of Webheads United, and they've all agreed to share their expertise and experience about online lead generation. They're going to help us wrap our heads around some of the considerations and options out there so that we can bring new customers into our business using online tactics. You'll hear different perspectives because each of us is an independent business owner. I'm sure you'll walk away with new insights and ideas. The Webheads United itself is a collaboration of experienced website professionals. The experts you meet today have decades of experience helping their clients with websites that work. Within the Webheads group, we have members who specialize in strategy, design, content, and functions such as search optimization and making your website accessible. Each of us works only on customized websites specifically built for our customers. And we build them to achieve our clients' goals and connect with their customers. As a group, we provide panel discussions like this, as well as the Q&As and webinars that can give you, as a business owner, solid, trustworthy advice and the opportunities to meet people who are doing this and ask us questions one-on-one. We hope to become your go-to resource whenever you think about making your website better. I'm your host today. I'm Paula Roberts. I'm a public relations and marketing professional, owner of Aqua Community Relations Group. I'm also the San Diego Alliance ambassador here on Alignable, and I lead the government contracting group. So if any of those things are of interest to you, I'd love to have you connect with me. Robert Coxe is the owner of Silphium Design. He's joining us today from Pennsylvania. Robert, will you please introduce yourself and your company?
I'm Robert Coxe. I have a Silphium Design here in Titusville in Northwest Pennsylvania, near Lake Erie. And I do websites for land conservancies, land trust, native gardens, and native plant nurseries, and associated businesses.
Tom Bartholomew is the owner of Bartholomew Media Group. He's coming to us from Michigan, which is, just a hop, skip, and a jump from Minnesota, where I grew up. Tom, tell us a bit about yourself and your experience creating websites.
Well, thank you so much, Paula. I started building websites in 1999 when I was a carpenter. My dad and I owned a construction business, and this internet thing was coming up in websites, so I decided to build a website back then. And I was just hooked. I loved it that I was able to build a website and publish it out to the world. Back in 1999, that was quite the ordeal. Well, it's changed a lot now, and I definitely love to help people. I work primarily with roofing contractors or local service providers. And yeah, like she said, beautiful northern Michigan, and I hope you guys pick up some tips, get your pens and paper out, and yeah, it should be a great night. Thanks, Paula.
Thanks. Pia Civiletti lives and works in Maryland. She is principal at Scientium Associates. So Pia, tell us what we should know about you and your company.
Hi, everybody. Yes, I'm Pia Civiletti from Centium Associates, and I work with businesses to build a strategy around their business and to including the branding of their business, anything that is the look and feel, as well as building the website that fits within their strategy and what they're trying to achieve with their business. Because I think it really does start with that, including different marketing strategies and such that go with that.
Fabulous. I'm glad to be joined by all of you. And I know you don't know this, but we've all been working together on projects for quite some time now, and it's just fun every time we reconnect. So we'll start off by defining a lead. According to HubSpot, a lead is any person who indicates an interest in your product or service. They can do it in any way, shape, or form, and they're a lead. TechTarget defines it as a potential sales contact, individual or organization that expresses interest in your goods or services. In the marketing field, 91% of marketers put getting leads as their top priority, and more than half of them invest more than half of their budget on lead generation. So today, that is our focus. How do you get more leads online? So two of our panelists are here to tell us about identifying leads and how to determine their value. Tom, would you start us off? Tell us why leads are valuable and describe qualified leads and how you identify them.
Well, I think we all kind of know why leads are valuable, because that's the bread and butter to our business. If we don't have leads, we don't have customers. So I want to talk about sales qualified leads, or you might even hear it referred to as SQL, just an acronym. But I hear that a lot, SQL, and people always say, what are you talking about when you say SQL? Well, that's a sales qualified lead. And it's critical to optimize your sales process by figuring out if your lead is going to convert. That's how you can figure out if they're sales qualified. And there's a few ways you can do that. Initial screening. So where did the lead come from? Is it from organic search? Is it a referral? Or did you have a marketing campaign? So there's ways to track this so you know where that lead comes from. And what is their first point of interaction? Did they go through your website? Did they see your social media posts? Maybe they attended a webinar similar to this that you maybe are putting on in the future. So those are different ways that you can figure out, your initial screening is, how they interact and what source did they come from. There's other ways too, like you can kind of tell by their behavior. So are they engaging with you when you send them an email? I have software that tracks when I send an email out, and it tells me when the person opens it. So I can tell if they open it right away, they're really engaged. Did they click on a link? If they clicked on a link right away, they're engaged. That's a sales qualified lead. I'm going to get a hold of them. Are they consuming my content? Do they read your blog? Are they looking at your social media posts? And also, how much are they going through your website? We should have tracking so we can tell who is going through our website. And are they looking at your pricing page? That's probably a good sales qualified lead. And I like to think of it by the BANT, B-A-N-T. So this is really important. If you got a pen and paper, you might want to write this one down. So does the lead have a budget? Are they going to be able to afford your services? So that's the B. A is authority. Is the lead a decision maker or an influencer in their organization? You don't want to talk to, you don't want to talk to the line worker if the president's making all the decisions. So are they the authority of you to talk to? N is for need. Does that lead have a clear need for your service? And then the T is timeline. Are they looking to get your service soon? What is their timeline? So BANT, budget, authority, need, and timeline. It's a great way to qualify them. And there's even a few questions you can say, like, what challenges are you facing in your business? This is how you get people when you get them on a call. Have you used similar services before? What are your expectations from this service? What is your decision-making process? So these are all questions that you can help ask the lead to see if that you can qualify them. So those are just some simple things, but I want to make sure everybody got that BANT. I think that's really important. Just those 4 parts: budget, authority, need, and timeline.
A great acronym, Tom. Pia, I know there's more that you could tell us. What are some of the things you'd want your clients to know when it comes to leads?
Yeah, so I think to add to what Tom said, their qualifying is definitely an important thing to do. And really, before you do that, you have to understand even who you're going after. So what do your leads look like? Do you have an avatar? Do you have, and you can have several avatars, and you can, go after different types of leads for your business. But to understand who that end customer is, and to then determine, how do I reach that particular group of customers? Now, your website obviously is one place, but you still need to get your leads to that website. So you may look at, and there are different trends that have come out this year that people are really getting into, where you're doing more things outside of your website to get them to your website, right? Things like maybe partnering with other businesses and advertising on other people's websites, or blogging on other people's websites, or having an ad, and it may not even cost you anything if you actually become a speaker on a podcast. And there are millions of podcasts, so you absolutely would find a podcast that is related to your industry, and you contact them, and they love guests. That is an awesome way to actually get in front of an audience that's interested in your area, in your industry, and to get them to come to your website. So and it could cost you nothing, just maybe an hour or so of your time to go onto a podcast. So I think, getting leads nowadays, you have to start being really creative with how you get them. You don't always have to spend money to get them, but you do have to figure out who that lead is, and how do I speak to them at a level that's comfortable, right? Nowadays, and it's because everybody's online so much, and because everybody was at home and everybody really got online during COVID, is people want to be authentic with each other, because you can't be like this online persona and it's like your pretend persona. They want to see the authentic you when you're online. And so speaking to them in an authentic way, getting, what kind of words, or what do you think that they want to hear as a human being that's possibly interested in the product or service that you're selling? What are the words and what are the attractors that you might use to get them to either click on a link or search for your website, or just even be interested in you after you are on a podcast, or maybe you do a video that you post on YouTube, or those different things. So that's like even just going back to the language that you're using to attract those particular leads is always something that's important to look at.
Thank you, Pia. And everyone, Tom posted a free buyer persona worksheet, which Pia mentioned an avatar. So an avatar is a description of an individual customer, so that you can figure out your strategy aimed towards that customer. And that again is also an ideal buyer persona. So that's tying them both together. So if anyone wants to take advantage of that, if you hit, hold Control or Command and click on that link, it'll open it up for you so you can look at it after the panel. So our second portion of the discussion is going to deal with strategy. It's clear that every business requires leads to thrive, but not every method of leads generation is going to be possible or right for every small business. That's where strategy comes in. While 9% of businesses spend less than $10 per lead, 4% spend more than $1,000, and the median cost is about $200. So just, those figures kind of help you put it all in perspective. So at this point, I'd like to hear about some key elements for developing a strategy to help our clients get more leads. Robert, will you please explain some resources and tools that are part of defining a lead generation strategy and walk us through a quick case study where you helped a client identify their goal, budget, and resources?
Yes, when you get together with a client, you had to first find out what stage in the business they're in. Are they in a startup stage? Are they established? It'll give you an idea. Do you need to really put out a marketing blitz or just put more or less a continuing campaign of marketing? Also, do they have a high budget or a low budget? That can determine, should you use Facebook? Should you use a lot of print media or other things depending on the budget? Also, what is their service area? Are they servicing worldwide, nationwide, or worldwide and nationwide, such as an e-commerce type of thing? Or are they a local business, like one of my businesses, which was, or two of my businesses, which are mulch businesses and a local restaurant, more of a local thing. So an example was I had a business that had an e-commerce outing goods store, and she sold nationwide and primarily used Facebook, and of course she used her website, and she also went to events around the country and built up an email marketing list for that business. The mulch business I talked about, he does more of a local business, so he uses Google My Business. He uses newspaper ads, and he just delivers this mulch within a 50-mile radius. He's also Amish, which also had some complications to social media. The restaurant is primarily a local business, though he does reach out further afield. So he has a big email marketing system, and he was working with a separate marketer, Arnett. And another one of my clients, the Rotary Club, they're pretty much their own thing, and they market through the national. So that's a situation where the strategy there was, I did a website according to the Rotary Club guidelines for the local Rotary Club, and then the Rotary Club as a whole handles the rest of the marketing. So those are, got to find out what exactly the business is doing, where they are in their growth stage, and that helps determine your strategy.
Great, Robert. Do Tom or Pia want to add anything into some strategy elements? Or are we moving on?
No, Tom, you're on mute if you're talking. No, you're not talking.
Okay.
Well, there's a ton of when it comes to getting leads and attracting them and the different things that you can do, you can always start with one strategy, and but planning is really an important part of this, and kind of having an idea about what type of strategies. If you do your website and you have an action that you want people to take, right? What is the right action for them? You want them to follow a path on your website, right? To get them to either call you, set up a meeting with you. So how are you going to attract them that way, right? So that's one way you can get people in. But there's so many different ways, like, and Robert was mentioning social media and things like that. So the key is to actually sit down and figure out what are the different ways, one that you're comfortable with, right? In doing is, obviously your website is an obvious way to get people attract you, but what are you doing on your website to attract people to get there, right? Social media is another way to get people to your website. As I mentioned before, doing things like podcasts, YouTube videos, could be TikTok, depending on your audience, right? And even the age group of your audience. What social media platform are you going to go for? So understanding all of that helps you build a strategy to connect to the right audience. And you can start with one strategy and work through that, right? See, what am I doing? How much am I spending on this particular strategy? When I'm getting people contacting me, how am I getting them, right? Are they filling out forms? Are they calling me? Making sure you collect the information appropriately. And then you need to know, what do I do next with this information, right? Do I just get the information and then that's it? Or, is it something that I can close right away? Do you have a kind of business where if you get them in a call or you get an email, it's a quick sale? Or is it a long sale and you got to do a little bit more work to get them to buy something from you, which means that you need to keep on contacting them and not necessarily calling them or just direct email, right? But you can't send them emails that say, hey, check out this new information or check out the 7, strategies to do XYZ, to keep them with you in mind, right? You want to make sure that your leads remember you when they're ready to buy. That's really
Absolutely
there. Yeah. All right. And then you just keep working the strategies, one by one, and then you find out which works best for you, and then you keep going.
And you touched on this, Pia, but you didn't fully fill it out. One of the tactics within that strategy is calls to actions. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so calls to action is once you get a prospect to your website, or it could be on social media, really, it's getting them to perform an action. But that call to action, right, the CTA, usually when it comes to websites, is that question, that button that you want them to hit to either join your newsletter group, to set up a consultation. It's usually at least on the top part of your website. So before they scroll, you want them to start thinking about, well, what do you want them to do next? Where do you want them to go? So that call to action is, I want you to do X next. I want you to scroll down, you have arrows, right? Or you have something, check out the strategies for improving X. See below. Okay, we do that. Or sign up for my newsletter. Or, hey, if you want to talk about X, set up a free consultation. Like we even talk about in the beginning of this meeting, we always say, hey, you want a free consultation? Here's the information, you can contact us. So that's your call to action. You obviously want them, your prospects, to take an action. And there may be several ones, depending on what platform you're on. So you need to think through that and have a strategy on how you want to do that.
Fabulous. Robert, can you talk to us about using the right social media for the right customers?
Yes, on social media, you have a lot of different types of social media, and each of those social medias types have different audiences. Facebook is a general social media type of channel. Twitter is for breaking news. Pinterest is for images. Mastodon is kind of like Twitter, except it's still is a little bit more European. It's becoming a little bit more worldwide, but it's still European. LinkedIn is for professional. If you want a younger audience, TikTok is a place to go, or Snapchat. But you want to be sure to select the right social media. And an example is I have a blog on native plants and butterfly gardening, and I used to advertise a lot or post a lot on Facebook, but it just wasn't really getting anywhere. I wasn't getting any traction with it. Took the same post, put them on Pinterest. All of a sudden, it took off. Wholly different audience. I did have a lot of images of the plants and the butterflies, and that might have contributed to it because Pinterest is more of an image-driven platform. So if you do have a lot of images or something you're trying to sell, or images of your company, Pinterest might be your thing, especially if it's also women-oriented. A lot of women in Pinterest. In my case, they like plants and butterflies. If you have a lot of breaking news, Twitter is your way to go. If your company's putting out a lot of news, you're having a lot of things going on, that might be the place to go. Or Twitter, now X, or Mastodon. That's also a possibility. It's more of an open source Fediverse version. If you're providing professional services, LinkedIn would be the way to go. And LinkedIn is also a good source of quality leads because people are going there to find answers to their problems. So you want to make sure that you're on the right social media place to get the best leads.
That's great. Yeah, I always tell my clients to match their social media to their customers, because
Right.
you want to go where they already are. You don't need to drag them there, because that's much harder.
Yeah, there's no one size fits all.
No, there isn't. So Tom, talk to us about lead funnels.
Well, before I get into that, I just want to say I like plants and butterflies too, Robert. Just so you know.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not saying all men don't like them, but
Lead funnels, you probably have heard this term, lead funnel. A lot of people throw it around and they talk about their funnels and stuff. I like to put it into different stages, like different parts of the funnel. And at the top, we have the awareness stage. And we do work on leads here by doing content marketing. And we've talked a lot about this. We do blogging, videos, social media, webinars, just like this, right? So technically, you guys would be in that stage of a funnel. You just joined a webinar, so by us doing some content marketing. So now you're in the awareness stage, just to give you an example. Not that we're going to start, trying to reach out or do anything like that. So also SEO helps in this stage, and pay-per-click Google ads or Facebook ads help in the awareness stage. You're making people aware of what you do or your brand. Then you have the interest stage. So once they become aware, they join a webinar like this, or they read your blog and they go, wow, I kind of like what that person just said. And now you can have lead magnets. This is where you give 28 pages to market your business better, or that would be for us, for marketers, but you would have something like a ebook, a white paper, maybe a free audit or something, or whatever you have as a lead magnet. And also social media engagement, just like Robert was talking about, platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, you can engage with them, share your insights. Works really good. So those are the first two. You got awareness, interest, then you have consideration. So now I've started to become a little bit interested. So this is where the email marketing comes in, right? So we're really starting to nurture those leads. We can maybe show them some case studies like Robert kind of went through some. And now this is where we do the lead scoring. So we're going to start scoring you on your intentions. And speaking of intentions, that's the next stage, the intent stage, right? So now we're doing sales outreach. You're showing some buying signals, and you're visiting the pricing page, like I said before. So we're going to, you want to start reaching out to people, offer them a consultation, maybe even give them a tailored proposal. Let them know, hey, it's good. You're interested, and I'm interested in helping you achieve this or get this product or widget or whatever it may be. And we know what's after that, the one we all look forward to, the purchase stage. So this is where we close the deal. We use persuasive sales techniques. Maybe we get a contract and we're starting to onboard that customer if you have a process like that. Now, if you're just selling some products, you might not onboard that person, but you might send them a nice note. Hey, you might have it on automation. Thank you for buying my widget. I have these other widgets that you might be interested in too. That's what happens kind of with the purchase stage. And that goes into the last one, the retention stage, right? We don't want them to just buy one widget or product. We want them to stick around and buy a bunch of widgets and products. We want them to think, wow, that was such a great experience. I not only got this widget, but they were so nice. They offered to jump on a call. They called me after I bought it and said thank you. You go that extra step for the retention stage. It's just not about the purchasing, but we want to hold them and retain that customer. So I'll just say them all again. Awareness, interest, consideration, intent, purchase, and retention. So those are kind of the stages of a lead funnel.
So now we've got people there. We've got people considering or making a purchase, but now we have to do the follow-up. So we want to make sure that lead doesn't disappear before we bear fruit. According to Verse, 44% of businesses struggle with promptly following up on their leads. So now I'm going to ask the panelists for some advice on how they follow up with their leads. Yeah, would you tell us some actions you can take both short-term and longer-term to help you track and nurture leads?
Absolutely. So tracking your leads is obviously very important because you don't want to lose that momentum that you might have built with any of your particular prospects. So having some type of tool or actually you could even do it on a piece of paper if you want to, but having some way of tracking who you're talking to, how they, how they got to you, really being able to see what mechanisms are working for you, and tracking when you talk to them, what you talked about, what their interests are, and listening to your leads talking. Sometimes you may get in different conversations. Any piece of information could be helpful, and that type of information you just put everything into. It could be an Excel spreadsheet. It could be an automated type of tool that you use out there, but anything to track it is important. But along with tracking is actually keeping those up to date with them, and having them remember who you are and what you're about. And that could be either through posting on social media, and maybe they're already on your social media accounts, or sending them emails. And it could be personal emails saying, maybe they mentioned something about their birthday, or they mentioned something about a trip, or anything that was even personal. You got to capture that information, because they'll be very impressed if you send them an email saying, hey, just wanted to check up and see how was your vacation, did you have a good time, that kind of thing. Just to say, hey, hi, I'm still here. You don't have to try to sell them anything in every single communication. It could be something like, oh, you know what, I remember we were talking about X, and I saw this information and thought it would be helpful to you. That's it. You don't even have to say, hey, call me, or come to my website and buy this stuff. It's really just keeping in contact with them. The marketing rule, and this has been a rule forever because I've been in marketing for a long time, is that you need to touch people at least 7 times a year for them to remember you, right? And that could be in various different ways, but they have to see your name, your company name, your logos, pictures, something that reminds them. So it could be emails, it could be something online, whatever, but something that reminds them of you and your organization. So, and then making sure that you're tracking things that you're doing and the response you're getting. And then you being able to look back at that information and see how you're doing is really important. And you'll see a difference if you keep up with your leads, and you kind of build a relationship over time. And you'll definitely see a difference in the people who come to you. And it may take them 2 years. Like literally, there have been times where I've gotten customers call me, and I'm like, after a long time communicating, they're like, okay, I'm finally ready. I'm ready now to spend the money to do a website. Let's go. And then but you already have a relationship with them. They already know you, right? So that you built that trust with them. And so obviously they're going to go with you because they trust you, because they know who you are. They know that you care about them.
And it depending on your service, it doesn't always have to be just an email or a social media post. You can send a card, you can call people up, you can go to coffee with them, just some way that you make that connection and keep let them know you, because it's all about people buying from people they know. Tom, I know you have some ways to make that follow-up a little bit more easy. Do you want to talk a little bit about customer relationship management?
Yeah, so nowadays, customer relationship management, or a CRM, is almost a necessity. You need to have that because we need to manage our customers, and they have some great tools in them now. And one that I just set up is an automated text. So if somebody calls and I don't answer, within 30 seconds, it's going to send them a text and say, hey, sorry, I missed your call. And it's going to direct them to my calendar if they'd like to book some time to talk to me. So it's just automatic. You can also have automated response. Let's say somebody fills out a form on your website. Then you can have an automatic email sent to them saying, hey, thank you for the email. Whatever the case may be, I will get back to you within 24 hours. So you want to make sure. I heard some statistic recently that the longer you wait after someone tries reaching out to you, the colder and harder it is to close that deal. So think about it. If you were to call someone and you don't get an answer, you're interested in their product, and they call you back right away, wow, you're still thinking about it. Of course, you're still going to be interested. But if they wait 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks to get back to you, and some people do this, you're probably not going to be as interested in. So the sooner that we can reach out, that timely outreach. And Pia touched on a great thing. I got a question for you guys. Do you know what everyone's favorite word is? Anybody? It's their name. It's your name. That's your favorite word. So use people's names. I learned that in the hospitality industry when I was working at a resort. You use people's names, and boy, it makes it more personal, and they love it when you say their name. So use their name when you can. And then, just kind of keep sharing informational, good how-to content on your blogs, videos, webinars just like this. Test their lead quality. If you're following up on somebody 1, 2, 3 times, but their lead score, they don't have much intent, well, you might not want to keep reaching out to them. So you want to make sure you get that. You kind of can, that qualified lead. That's who you want to continue to reach out to. So those are some different ways in a CRM that you can do it almost automatically. And one great thing right now that I've been using a lot, and I know that all of my associates here also use it, is a simple calendar scheduling tool like Calendly. A lot of CRMs use it, HubSpot. So when you're talking to somebody, they're like, oh, let's talk. Well, you can send them your calendar link. Super easy. They make it so simple, and they can just book a time right on your calendar when you're available. It makes it really easy to connect. So those are just a few of the ways.
Great. Robert, talk about ways you maintain contact with existing clients so they see you as a solution to their next problem and become a source of new business even after you finish a project.
Well, I'm primarily in contact with my existing customers through phone and email. And Tom sort of touched on that. They like to know, like for you to call them by their name. And also I try to remember something from our last conversations to show that I was actually listening and know what they're doing. And I said to say I'm not really, I think I said I'm not a fan of the automated things because the automated things go out and sometimes they're not in the right context for whatever the question was or why the person wanted to contact you. So I try to be as personal as you can. And for instance, the guy who has the restaurant when I was here in town, and if I see on his website that the daily specials aren't changing or something's going on, I'll usually slide down there and find out, is there a problem or did your brewmaster change or, what's happening? Just make sure that their site is working effectively.
That personal touch and follow up. I agree.
And another one, the first one I did, I talked about the outing goods e-commerce store. I worked with her and actually showing her how to do the WordPress websites, and she's actually really doing pretty well on her own with her site. It's actually come up with a lot of new stuff on there, and took her own initiative to learn the ins and outs of websites.
That's great. You were a mentor as well as a provider.
Yes.
So we have finished the planned portion of this presentation, and we have almost 20 minutes available if there are any questions to do Q&A and just have some conversations with the web heads. If you have any questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat or just raise your hand either physically or with the little reaction button, and we'll try to help as much as we can. You can certainly come off mute if anybody wants to chat.
I know the last time we had a lot of questions on the Google My Business, or now it's changed to the Google Business Profile. I know a lot of people have questions on that or how to generate leads. So we'd be glad to answer anything, maybe something that you heard today that you'd like more clarification on. maybe Pia was talking about something, you're like, ooh, I like that, and maybe she could elaborate on it, or
Has everybody figured out what your call to action is on your website? Have you worked on your call to actions? Well, we have one head going. Because that's really an important thing. Oh, Arthur wants to talk. Arthur, go ahead.
And Arthur.
Yeah, maybe you can fill us in on how Google Business Profile could be utilized to generate leads. You know, how important it is to keep it updated.
Oh yeah, totally important. Google, and the one for those of us who've been doing this for a while, we just can't stop calling it Google My Business, even though it's not called anymore. But having a Google profile for your business is really important. Now, Google is a little picky with when you don't have an actual location, but you can usually get around that by using your home address, just as long as you follow all of their other rules. But it's really important to keep it updated, not only with, hours of operation, your location, but adding pictures and just even marketing. You can post, sales there. You can just put, little banners, anything. The more you update it, the more Google likes you, right? So because they're like, oh, they're updating this a lot. They must be, really working on their business. So we're going to help them out by showing them more, right? We're gonna show people their information more because they're up to date. And you can even, you could put posts on there, but touching your Google profile at least once or a couple times a month is really a good idea. And updating information, if you have holidays, even going in and changing holiday hours, even if you maybe don't really exactly have hours, but going in and making the change is a good thing anyway, right? Just to show Google that you're making those changes. You end up showing up more, your profile looks more professional, complete. Obviously, make sure that you're posting really nice pictures and putting deals up there, even tidbits information. They don't tell you, you could put a banner up there or just, do a little graphic that has, 5 strategies for X and post it as a picture. It doesn't have to be an actual picture. It could be something with information on it that people will see and they'll be like, oh, well, what's this? And they'll click on it. So the more you get people to click on anything that you do, the better, right? Or it could be a lead into your website. You could put something and say, hey, if you want to know about X, go here, and just make it like a picture and post it on your profile as well. So that's some of the things you could do with it. I'm sure Tom and Robert might have other ideas about what you could do with your Google profile.
Well, definitely what you said, update it constantly. And I treat it just like a social network. Anything that I post to LinkedIn or to Facebook or to Instagram, I also post to my Google business profile. So the same photo, the same type of text. Now I do alter it a little bit between the different networks, but why Google business profile is so important, especially for a local business, is because it shows up in the map pack. So let's understand why it's important. So we can talk about all the strategies, but if we don't know why we're doing it, and the reason is when we do a search in Google for a local business, let's say you type in, and I work with a lot of local service providers. Let's say you type in roofing contractor near me. Well, you're going to get 2 or 3 sponsored posts, and then you're going to get the map pack. That's what it's called. And there's typically 3 listings that they show up, and then you can, click to see more, and there'll be a map next to it. Those are Google business profiles. So when you're searching a local service provider, so if you're a local service provider, or even wider than local, it's good to have that. When somebody types that in your service, you're going to show up in that map pack if there's some factors. So activity and updates like P was talking about, and also reviews. So you want to make sure that when you get a customer and they're happy, you're getting them to post review on your Google business profile, not anywhere else. That is the most important one, on your Google business profile. And by getting reviews, by being active, by posting, that will help you show up when people search for your services in their area in that local map pack. And there's usually 3 listings. So the more, if you're not doing anything, if you're not active, you won't show up in those 3, and you're losing out on probably one of the most important, valuable tools you can use online to get local customers.
And it's also just, part of that. People expect you to have a website now to be legitimate. They also expect you to show up on Google. It's, just part of the expectation of knowing that you're a business that's credible.
Well, and that's a signal for Google too. The credibility. If you don't have a Google business profile, then Google is not going to give your website as much authority. But if you have a Google business profile and you keep it updated and you're able to put your link to your website on there, that's going to give you more. That's called a citation. The more citations, directory listings you have, the better. And the Google business profile is the most important.
I know I still can't pronounce your name, Folashade.
You got it right, Folashade. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So go ahead with your question. We'll be happy to answer.
All right, thank you. And so I think this is going to be to Tom, or well, it could be Per as well, or any other person. Talking about the Google business profile, which I have up. But you mentioned something at the last webinar where we talked about, ensuring that it's consistent across. So if you have mind, body, balance as your Google business profile, it should be the same on your website. But my own website is actually branded with my name. Although I do have a page on it that talks about, the mind body balance thingy, but it's really, the website is my name. The website is not mind body balance. Is there something, that I need to do to actually make that alignment and make Google, love me? Yeah.
Well, this is a great question. And there's an acronym, NAP, and that's your name, address, and phone number. And it's even more important to have them all exactly the same in all the different directories. So in Yelp, in Yahoo, in Bing, in Google, on the Google business page, they all have a directory profile that you can build. And all of those, they need to have the exact name, the exact address, and the exact phone number. So that is more important than maybe even having it on your website. Now you want to have your name, Mind Body Balance, your business name on your website. You should mention, like if you're branding it to yourself, I would say you should say, with your name and then say owner of, have that right away at the top. So there's no confusion. Because we don't want to confuse people when we see your business profiles all say mind, body, balance, but then your name's on your website. Well, that's confusing. So if we can have it the same everywhere on our website as well, but in all the directories, because what Google does is when it's crawling the web and it finds all these directories, you're going to confuse it too. If you have your name and then your business name and they have the same address, and it's going, what's this all about? So you want to try to make sure that you have that exact NAP, name, address, and phone number.
And I would also purchase the domain for the business name.
Yeah, I did that.
You can get and park that, direct it to the one with your name, so that that still shows up and it takes you to the same place.
Okay, by that,
people search for that.
Sorry, Paula. By that, you mean like my domain name should be the same as my website name? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying you can have 2 domain names and just have one direct people to the website that you're using all the time. But if they search for you under Mind Body Balance rather than your first name, they land on that website link, but it opens up your website that's branded with your name.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you.
And for like $15 a year, you're catching them from both links.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks, Tom, too. Yeah. I do have another question. I don't see any other hand up, so I would monopolize the time a bit. I think this will be to Per. So you said something about the avatar and defining and stuff like that. So I do have my avatar defined and everything, and I do speak. I mean, I feel that I've spoken the language of my ideal client on my site, but I still kind of feel I'm not getting the type of traffic that I think I would like to get. I get more persons from LinkedIn than I get going directly from my site. So from LinkedIn, they could check my site and then reach out to me from LinkedIn, but not necessarily like my site first. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
So I'm wondering what I'm missing.
Well, you might not be missing anything. If you're actually getting traffic for LinkedIn, that may be a clue that LinkedIn is your place, right? So maybe your
Yeah.
audience is on LinkedIn and you should spend time posting there. You can even start a subgroup on LinkedIn about your industry. So you could do like a mind body group, and then you post things to that group and people can follow that. That's a good way of getting even more traffic on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's advertising is a little expensive. So you end up paying a good amount of money per lead. It's definitely usually over $100 at least. So it might be a little bit expensive unless your product is, maybe a long-term package where they're paying, $5,000 or something like that for a mind body package, right? Otherwise, you use LinkedIn and use it in a way to post. You can invite people to events. So you might do like we're doing, do a webinar, something like that, a mind body webinar, which is really popular because I was in that industry for a long time, is doing webinars where you invite other professionals and you have, different topics that each person's going to talk about, and you kind of advertise that, like, and you have maybe an overall topic for the webinar, and you plaster that over, and people love to sign up for free webinars that have lots of different experts talking on them. And you, as the organizer, you can also speak, but then you're also the organizer. So you get a little bit more traffic, people checking you out, that type of thing. And you could easily get them, obviously, to your website. Now, to get people to just your website and not coming just from LinkedIn, you have to have your website have something on there that is being searched, right? So blogging, right? Getting and doing blogging often. The more often you do the blogging, as long as you're following, the guidelines that, it's, and they keep on changing the number of words. But I find that, like, I even used to post things that were just like a proverb or a saying, and in health, it's easy to make those up, right? Mind, body sayings and things like that. And it still got traffic. People were still reading it, even though it was only a couple sentences. Maybe Google didn't love me as much, but so you can range it from things like that to maybe 350 word to 1,000 word articles, right? So, and posting at least a couple times a month consistently. It's consistency. And then making sure that, you're using the words in your posts that are relative to your business, right? And that you're using the SEO with that. And I'm sure Tom can say something about that because he loves his SEO. And, and then you get traffic to your website a little bit more. But that, it takes time to build that up. It could be 6 months to a year to 2 years to build up really good traffic to your website by doing blogging. But it's the least inexpensive way, right? You can always buy ads, but that could kind of go crazy too, depending. If you have the money to spend on ads, great. If not, blogging is a really good way of doing that. And also sharing, right, with other businesses and saying, hey, you're in this business, and so you're not really competitor to me. Would you backlink to my website and I could backlink to your website, type of thing. So that's a good way of getting people to your website. And
Robert has something too.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Robert.
went to blogging because I have my own blog and I've been doing it for 3 years. And I sort of learned it from the school of hard knocks. There's just no fast way of ranking on there, and you have to just keep consistently putting out the post. Another thing you want to make sure your site speed is fast. If you don't, Google looks at site speed. If your site speed is slow, you could be putting out as many posts as you can hammer out on the keyboard, and it's just going to wallow in mediocrity. But once you get that speed up, all of a sudden the post will start to rank, and you'll start getting there. But you just have to be consistent. And with my blog, I'm generally putting out about a one post a day, and that's how I got there. And I got about 20 posts there in the top 3 on the search. But you just have to keep doing it, and it has to be treat it like a full-time job. And also, if you're getting leads on LinkedIn, that could be your social media channel. Go to where you're having success. If you're in a social media channel and you're not getting any leads there, I always thought, well, gee, there must be something wrong with my post here. That might not be the case. You might be on the wrong social media channel. If you're getting them on one spot, try to put on the gas in that area and see if you can get even more.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Yeah, I appreciate it.
You welcome. Well, I also say, as far as posts on the blog, had a fairly low number of visitors until I got to about 75 posts.
Wow. How long did you post for before you started getting traction?
I was posting for almost a year.
Wow.
It can take a while. It depends on your segment. If your segment is competitive, it can take longer. If you have a low competitive segment, it can be a little bit shorter. But I know there are a lot of bloggers on YouTube saying, yeah, you can get this much traffic in 90 days. I've never seen it. You can't get that much traffic in 90 days.
Yeah, there's one thing that's always rang true, with Google's all their different algorithm updates and all their changes and white hat and black hat SEO and tactics. One thing has always reigned supreme, and that is content is king. So the more useful, now it can't just be any content. You can't just put out crud. It has to be useful and helpful. It has to be something that a user wants. You don't want self-promoting content. You want content that a user will want to come, they'll want to read, and then they will see you as the authority on that topic. So you want to do how-tos, a lot of how-tos. You want to find questions that people are asking, and you want to answer those questions in your articles. Content is king. The more useful and helpful content you have, whether you're posting once a day, once a week, or once a month, it needs to be useful and helpful, and you need to have a little bit of length to it. Yeah, double eat for sure. Expertise, experience, authority, and I'm drawing a blank on the T. Trustworthiness. Thank you, man.
I was gonna
I talk
open my
about that all
notes.
the time. Yeah. So that you appear, there's lots of information on that. If you were to Google the EEAT, Google's guidelines for content, there's lots of information, but that's definitely, you want to follow that for useful and helpful information content.
Pia posted
And another
earlier, let me just, Sarah, because we're right at the end of our time. Pia had posted, if you would like to contact the presenters, she's provided a link for that. And I think you will also get a short survey. And, I don't mind if we stay, but I just want to make sure people know where that is in case they want to drop off.
I was going to say, another trick in your post is in each post, make sure you have a table of contents, which shows what you have in your post. That helps Google and it helps your users. Make sure you have a frequently asked questions section. Tom was talking about that. That also helps Google. It helps your users. It helps with usability. And also you want to make sure you have some images with appropriate alternative text.
Well, the images, just to break up the text, because people won't read all your text. You need lots of bullet points and headings.
It should be skimmable too. That means that people who want to can just kind of take a look at all the bold type or the subheadings and illustrations and feel like they've got the gist of the article.
You
Even
want to design it
press
for
releases now, that's expected. So that's how people read. And then if they find it really interesting, then they'll dig down and actually go into the standard text.
you want to
Right.
design it for short attention span theater.
Yeah, thanks so much for all the answers. Very useful, very helpful. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you both, and everybody else has already left. Thank you for coming out. We really appreciate you for sure. And
Thank you.
maybe
I
we'll
hope
see
I
you
didn't bore
at
everybody
the next
out.
one.
We still have Loretta though, so Loretta, thanks for staying.
And Loretta's here.
Yeah.
See you both. Hope you'll come to another event and we'll call it quits.
Have a great evening.
I'm
Right.
learning a
Sounds
lot,
good.
so yes,
Alright.
thank you.
Yeah, good
Right.
luck with it.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks for talking.
Okay, we can, I don't even remember how to stop recording. There we go.
Record button.